you as a foreigner need to be flexible when you come to Mexico. So this is basically your first test of flexibility.
It's a new year, and that means there are new changes, new happenings with Mexico residency. We've got to talk about it. I'm a firm believer that if you want to live in Mexico, you should take the steps to do so legally. It wasn't all that long ago that Mexican immigration cracked down on perpetual tourists, and you just never know when that might happen again. So if you don't want to be separated from the beautiful life that you are building or that you plan on building for yourself in Mexico, then take the steps to get your residency. Don't put it off. Number 1, increases to financial requirements. Now, there are several different ways to qualify for a Mexico residency visa, but by far the most common way is through showing economic solvency. And in order to show economic solvency, you need to demonstrate that you meet the consulate's financial requirements. They want to know that you can support yourself while you're living in Mexico. Every year, the Mexican consulate adjusts their financial requirements based on the daily minimum wage in Mexico. Now, if you're thinking about getting your residency in Mexico, if you're thinking about moving to Mexico, please do not put off applying or wait until you think that, oh, one day these financial requirements might go back down, because if the last 2 years are any indication, the financial requirements for getting a visa in Mexico are only going up. For temporary residency, the typical monthly income that consulates want to see is $3,275 US. If you watched my video about the 2022 financial requirements, then you know that this new average, this new figure is more than $500 more than consulates were asking for last year. Monthly income is one way to show economic solvency, or you can go the savings and investments route. If you decide to go the savings and investments route, then temporary resident applicants will need to show a minimum balance of $54,000 in their bank accounts over the last 12 months. A significant increase over last year's requirements, which were on average $9,000 less. Permanent residency hopefuls, on average, need to show a monthly income of at least $5,460 or overall savings of $218,000. I really want to stress here that the financial requirements that I just listed out for you are averages. Some consulates might require more, some consulates might require less. There is no standard across the board. Don't ask me why. I'm just the messenger here.
You need to check because the websites are still not up to date. So whenever you send an email to the consulates, you need to ask, and they also will reply back saying, hey, just for you to know, our new economic requirement for temporary is this, and for permanent is this. Some of them, they have been keeping the same amount, but I will say 80% of the consulates has that increase now.
Number 2, more consulates are accepting average monthly incomes. Back in 2020, when I applied for the temporary residency visa at the Mexican consulate in Detroit, the best bet for self-employed people applying for that visa was to be able to show that they met the financial requirements going that savings and investments route. However, with more freelancers, with more self-employed people moving to Mexico and working from there remotely, consulates seem to be more open to calculating an average for your monthly income.
Many clients in your situation, as you said, like writers or musicians, or, that they have 0 and then 10,000 and then whatever. Yes, they make the average and they have been successful.
Number 3. Permanent residency applicants don't necessarily need to be retired. In last year's Mexico Residency Changes video, I shared that many consulates were requiring permanent residency applicants to be retired or around retirement age in order to get that permanent residency visa. Lately, though, I have received a handful of first-person accounts from people who are significantly younger than typical retirement age, who have been able to demonstrate economic solvency. They've been able to show that they meet those higher financial requirements. And even though they aren't retirement age, they have still been granted permanent residency visas and later their permanent residency cards from INM in Mexico. The moral of the story here is that it doesn't hurt to ask. If you are not retirement age yet, but you do meet the financial requirements for demonstrating economic solvency, if you've got that money, then I say go for it. Unless you are planning on driving a foreign plated car into Mexico, only temporary residents can do that. But otherwise, go for permanent residency because then you don't have to mess with renewals down the road. You will save yourself time and money in the long run. If you are just getting started with the Mexico residency process and looking for a step-by-step checklist to guide you, to help you through it, to keep you from pulling every single strand of your hair out, then I recommend snagging a copy of the Mexico Residency Roadmap. This is the guide that I created, the guide that I wish I would have had when I was navigating the Mexico residency process for myself. It's helped hundreds of people get their residency in Mexico, and it can help you too, and you can get $10 off when you use the code YouTube10. Check out the link in the description below. Number 4, INM is no longer issuing paper FMMs. If you've ever traveled to Mexico before, then you probably remember that awkwardly long form that you had to fill out, the famous FMM. Well, the physical FMM is gone and now it's digital.
So now everything is digital, and it's causing some of problems at the airport because not all the INM people, it's, how can I say, trained, or the system is not working properly. So basically what you need to do once you arrive to Mexico for the new people that is going to get the residency, meaning canjes, you just need to go to the immigration officer in customs and show your Mexican visa and show your passport. Instead of filling out a form, you need to tell them that you're coming for a canje, and they need to stamp with your entrance date and 30 days and with the word canje. They need to handwrite that.
From there, you will snap a picture of the QR code that's right there on the little immigration desk kiosk thing, or you can find it online. I'll put a link to it in the description below. And you will fill out your digital FMM to print off with you and take to your immigration appointment at INM. Number 5. INM's online appointment system is likely gone for good. I had such high hopes for the online appointment system. It really seemed like it was going to make life a lot easier. But should anything about getting your residency in Mexico be easy? Apparently not.
The online appointment, I think, is over forever. It has been like 1 year now that they haven't put it back into place, and it doesn't seem that they are going to do so. So for any processes or everything, what they are doing in general in all Mexico is just making a line, first come, first serve. So what they are doing is limiting the number of people that they can serve per day. And that is creating that we need to make the line all night or very early morning so you can get a spot.
If standing in line all night outside INM isn't something that you particularly want to do, then I recommend reaching out to Yvonne of Host Relocation and finding out how her services can help you avoid doing that. Number 6, pay fees directly at INM. In the past, you had to go to a Mexican bank to pay any fees ahead of time. You couldn't actually pay for anything. You couldn't actually do any transactions at the INM office. All of that had to be done ahead of time. Now INM is accepting payments and you can pay for your fees for your residency cards directly at INM. Speaking of fees, INM has announced the new fees for 2023, and for your 1-year temporary residency card, it costs 5,108 pesos. And for your permanent residency card, it costs 6,226 pesos. As with the financial requirements for demonstrating economic solvency, those fees go up every single year. Number 7, the temporary renewal timeline could change. Over the past couple of years, there's been a little leeway for renewing your temporary residency in Mexico. There was kind of a cushion, a little bit of a window. I think there was something like you could renew up to 55 days after the expiration date on your card, something like that. Immigration was very, very flexible due to the pandemic. But now that the world is in a different place, it seems like immigration could be going back to their old timeline for renewals. So just be prepared for that. Don't assume that they are still operating under that old timeline. Just to be safe, it's a good idea to plan to have your residency renewed, if you are a temporary resident, to go through that renewal process within 30 days of the expiration date. That's 30 days prior to the expiration date on your residency card. If you have any questions about getting your residency in Mexico, please feel free to ask away in the comments below. I'm Alex from backpackingbrunette.com. Thanks for watching.